Welcome back. So we've been talking about living paycheck to paycheck. Are you tired of living paycheck to paycheck, or are you just kind of accepting it? That's the question we want you to ask yourself, because I think it's easy to have a negative mindset and be like, oh, I don't make enough money. Everything's so expensive now. And just being okay with it, even though you really don't want to be okay with it. So, or do you want to change that and actually get ahead and not have that stress of watching every last penny every month, wondering if you're going to make ends meet, right? And so, this little mini series and these quick wins are helping you make that decision of getting away from the paycheck to paycheck lifestyle. Welcome to the Female Finance Collective podcast, where we encourage women to have open and honest conversations about all things money.
I'm Jen, and I struggled for many years with debt and feeling financially overwhelmed, so I know how frustrating it can be. Now I'm passionate about helping women confidently take control of their personal finances.
And I'm Mary Lee. As a financial planner, I've had the privilege of working with hundreds of women who've transformed their financial lives. I'm excited to share my insights to help you on your financial journey.
Hey, I'm Sybil. I built my dream life traveling the world and creating financial freedom on a teacher's salary. Now I help women take charge of their money and burn brighter in life.
Let's start the money conversation.
So today we're going to talk about some short-term sacrifices to help you make that transition and reduce your stress so you don't have to feel so tight, so restricted at month after month, okay? And they are short term, right? So making the decision, I'm going to do these little things now for 3 months, for 1 month, for 6 months, whatever it might be, so that I can get out of this cycle of being stuck in living paycheck to paycheck. And the other thing about making some of these short-term sacrifices is they can become habits, and then they can actually bring you joy and not feel like sacrifices at all, but instead ways that you are that help you, get ahead with your finances.
I think that's so true. So once I became committed to solving my problem, right? Paying off my debt, stop the paycheck to paycheck lifestyle, because for me, it was too much, right? It worked for a while. And then I was like, I am stressed every single month about money. Why am I doing this to myself, right? It's not good for your stress is terrible for your physical health, your mental health, all the things. So if you've hit that point where you're like, I'm willing, like the sacrifices will be worth the gains, then we're here for you, right? We want to just give you some ideas. Also, our lists are not exhaustive. They are just things that we have come up with kind of off the cuff, things that we think are hopefully sparking some good ideas for you or kind of giving you inspiration for things that would work perfectly with your budget or your lifestyle or your situation. And I love the way that you said, Sybil, like, don't forget, these are short-term sacrifices. Sometimes in life, when we really want something, we have to sacrifice in the short term, right? If you're trying to get your health improved, you have to make some sacrifices and give up some of the things you might love or dedicate a little bit more time to exercise or whatever to get those improvements. And this is the same thing, right? It's the
Yep.
same thing.
Think about your car. Cars are money suckers. Buying the car, insurance for the car, maintaining the car, things go wrong. Things have to be replaced, right? So could you make a short-term sacrifice of driving your car for just a little bit more longer, right? It feels like it needs to be replaced, but a short-term sacrifice would be just set a goal to keep that same car and drive it for a little bit longer. Another car related one is buying a used car instead of a new car. Cars depreciate the minute they're driven off the lot. So can you make that sacrifice of buying a used car, or if you already do buy used cars, a little bit older used car? Right? We were in the market of buying 2 cars when we got back from overseas, and we looked up the kind of car we wanted, and then we found the oldest model that had the backup camera. And that's how we decided which year we needed to look for the oldest model that had that feature that we wanted for especially our teenage drivers, right? So think about short-term sacrifices that have to do with your car.
Yeah, again, we're not saying drive your car forever, right? Like Sybil said, can you drive it 6 more months? Can you drive it 1 more year? Your insurance will be lower, your, payments will be all of those things. Like think about those benefits. Um, I'm going to have the exact same conversation, just substitute housing with car. Can you stay in the place that you are for just a little bit longer? Did you sign a lease at an apartment that kind of overextended you and you're like, this is really tight? Can you back off of that? Can you move somewhere where you're going to save a few $100s every month for the next year? Can you put off purchasing the home that you really want for another 6 months to a year so that you have a good down payment saved up, so that you have a little bit more money in the bank every month to kind of get debt paid off or whatever it is, so that when you do buy that house, it feels exciting instead of stressful that you're adding that payment. If you're looking to buy a new house, can you maybe scale back a little bit with all the wants and needs that you have? Sometimes we think we have to have these certain features in order for us to feel really happy. But the truth is, if we live just a tiny bit away from where we really want, even sometimes 5 minutes further out, we can save a ton of money on a house. If we're willing to give up one feature, we can save a bunch of money. And maybe you can start, you can make a plan like, hey, 4 years from now, we're going to add that feature to the house so that we're only making this like short-term sacrifice. But you can really save a ton of money with housing if you're willing to kind of compromise for a little while.
Can you get an extra job? Right? We just aired an episode about that. We gave you lots of ways to get a short term extra job. There's all kinds of side gigs that you can work at right now, like being a DoorDash driver, being a tutor, all kinds of teaching classes at night. These side gigs can be short term, right? You can do it for just a little while to get a little bit more money.
Right. What about, can you skip going out? I don't mean always, like never go out, but do you go out to eat like 3 nights a week? Could you cut it back to one? Do you go out with your friends both Friday night and Saturday night? Could you just cut it back to one and maybe one of the nights you meet at somebody's house and stay in? It's always so much cheaper to stay in than it is to go out. Um, can you just cut back a little bit on that going out? Those restaurant and bar bills add up so quickly. And if you're not keeping track of how much you're spending there, this is like a little bonus side tip. Go back through your credit card statement or your bank statement or whatever it is that wherever your money is coming out of, and just add up how much money you spent going out, whether it's to a bar or a restaurant last month, and look at the amount that it is. And for me, it's always eye-opening.
Yeah.
Always.
It is. After the fact is so smart to do it because in the moment you think you need to go out and whatever, but if you look and you see how expensive that is, you're like, "Whoa, I can skip that. I could cut that back to once a month instead of twice a month."
Yep.
Right?
We've also modified. So like sometimes we're like, we got to get out of the house. So we'll like go have a drink somewhere and like maybe an appetizer and then come home. Right. So instead of the whole meal, 2 drinks, the meal, the whole thing, we're just like, let's just half what we would have done, just go out for a little bit and then come back home. And that still gives you that fun feeling of getting out and doing something, but it just cuts back on the amount that you're spending.
We are king and queen of happy hours. We've always been like kids. We're eating at 5 o'clock tonight because it's still happy hour. Because a lot of places, the restaurants have great food deals during
Yep.
happy hour. It doesn't even matter if you don't drink. The food deals during happy hours are often, full size appetizers for a lot cheaper.
Yep.
So definitely good thinking. Another idea is to sell things in your house, right? We all have extra things that we're not using. Some people put their clothes intentionally on hangers inside out. And then if they don't wear it in a set amount of time, 6 months, a year, and it's still inside out, then they know that I don't wear that. I could sell that, right? There's all kinds of consignment stores these days where you can sell clothing, you can sell furniture, you can sell like household decor, right? It's like a booming business right now. So think about things that you could sell in your house. You can also swap or trade with people. It's really fun to host an event at your house, and everyone brings 5 pieces of clothing that they don't wear anymore, and then everyone gets to go home with 5 different pieces of clothing. Or, swapping holiday decor, for example. You're tired of that same Christmas decoration or whatever it is. Have a swap those things out rather than buying new. Those kinds of sacrifices and actually become fun and don't feel like a sacrifice at all.
That's right. And then instead of going out, you have the people over for the swap party and look at all the money you're saving.
That's so true. Double dipping.
I also think you can reduce clothes shopping. So some people don't spend a lot of money on clothes, but there are other people who have like the habit of like they get a new clothing item like every month or several new clothing items or new shoes all the time. So one way to really quickly cut back on your spending with that like short-term sacrifice is to not buy clothes, right? Your wardrobe will survive if you don't buy clothes for a month or for 2 months or 3 months even, right? There are sometimes I go stretches of many months without buying anything and you just get used to it. It's okay and you can like celebrate, hey, if I don't spend money for 3 months on clothes, I'm going to go out and buy myself one item that I really, really want. And that is a great way to keep a bunch of money in your pocket.
And maybe we can finish with another one of giving. So when you donate your time and you go and support people that may be less privileged than you, it actually helps you spend less money. And so things I like to do for volunteering, I'm talking about Christmas again. I don't know why it's March, but we go to Christmas at the park and we give clothes and suitcases and socks and underwear to unhoused people. And that experience helps me see that I have plenty of clothes. I don't need to spend money on clothes. I have plenty of things in my house. And so giving your time is a really great way to save yourself money because our brain changes when we do that. And we really, this is all a mindset thing, isn't it? The mindset of I can do something to get myself out of living this paycheck to paycheck lifestyle. So we hope that these ideas have been really helpful to you. As Jen said, there's many more. So your task this week is to try one out and then let us know. What are you doing short term? It might be a sacrifice, it might not be, to help get yourself out of this stressful situation of living paycheck to paycheck month after month. Let us know how you're doing. Like and follow our podcast, share it with your friends. We appreciate you, and we'll see you next week.